I'm Michael Fox, and this is the Prospector News Podcast. And I am joined by a new guest. I'm joined by Mike Allen, who is the CEO and president of Strikepoint Gold. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you.
It's good to have you on here. I'm quite excited to see what you're going to tell everybody today. But before we get really into the meat and potatoes of all of this, let's give the people that aren't familiar with Strikepoint a good overview of what the company is.
Okay, as you say, I'm Mike Allen. I'm the CEO of the company. I joined Strikepoint in November of 2022. We decided that we were going to look at something a little bit different than what the company had been before. We retain BC properties in the Golden Triangle, which is I consider a backstop of value. The board brought me in, and they know my history. I'm a Nevada regular, for lack of a better term. Expert is a bit much, and we started to poke around Nevada and look for assets. What we found was something called the Cuprite Gold Project. It's within the Walker Lane, and it's a lookalike to the nearby what is called the expanded Silicon Project, down about 75 kilometers to the south, where AngloGold has just announced resources of about 13 million ounces of gold in Nevada, grading at about a gram per ton. It's probably the biggest discovery in Nevada since the 1970s, and we've got a lookalike just up the road.
Yes, I wanted to address that because when we were first introduced, you and I met each other at the Silver Symposium in Las Vegas last fall, and Sean Kunkun was, who's I believe on your board, was kind enough to introduce us. And when Sean brings somebody around, I immediately stand up and take notice, because I'm a big believer in the people that are involved in projects, duplicating their success in other projects. And I was intrigued with what you had in BC. I got excited as soon as I found out about what was going on in Nevada. Another colleague of mine, Chris Temple, had huge history in that Walker Run trend, and he was telling me all about how good an opportunity this is. So tell me more about the Nevada property you're sitting on, size, scope, and plans.
Okay, well, we acquired it early 2023 from a group called Origin Royalties. I've got a history with Origin, and Origin's actually been pretty successful in the area. We acquired about 10 square kilometers from Origin. They're a margin place similar to some of the bigger deposits in the Walker Lane. We took that 10 square kilometer property and expanded it out. Today, it's just under 44 square kilometers. So we've got room to make a discovery and room to develop it. In 2023, this was a raw prospect, and we did a bunch of sort of the what I would call the boot work, the simple, cheap things that you need to do to take a drill concept to a drill target. So we did the soil geochemistry, we did the geophysics, we did the physical mapping, and got ourselves ready. And then once we had all that work done, we went into the permitting process. It took us about 20 days to get a permit, and now we're ready to go. So we should be drilling here in another week or so, plus minus. It really depends when the rig finishes its current job.
Yeah, that's one of the nice things when you're in a good jurisdiction like Nevada. Permitting becomes a lot easier to get because they've issued these, quite regularly, and you don't have that kind of long lag that you can have. And Nevada being an open desert the way it is, you can also drill year round, which is also beneficial to a company such as yours. Now, when you did your exploration work across your property, how many targets were you able to identify, and are you going to be drilling all of them or some of them, and why did you choose the targets that you chose?
It actually, all the different methods of creating targets created one big one. So we've got a soil anomaly that's about 2.6 square kilometers, and the highest grade soils, and this is it's a mercury anomaly, which is what we're looking for. Highest grade mercury was 7.6 grams per ton mercury at surface. The model says that the gold will be at depth. but the geophysics identified a 6 kilometer long ring structure that runs through the property. And then the mapping identified a series of east-west cross structures. And where those cross structures and ring structures come together, that's where the soil anomaly is. So it's one big coherent mass of a target. And then the geophysics created resistivity, anomaly, silicification, all within those cross structures. So it's one great big target in the heart of the project.
So, with a long-term view, because Nevada is the way Nevada is, sometimes it's underground, sometimes it's open pit. If I understand the way you've just described this, if everything starts to prove out and we get resources, the long-term plan would for this to be an open pit. Would that be correct?
I mean, that's what it looks like to me. Obviously, as you say, it's early days. But it does look like it's going to be an open pit style target. And again, this is, you look down at what AngloGold is doing down at their expanded Silicon. They've defined large open pit oxide gold targets, and that's the model that we're going for here.
Yeah, and AngloGold hit some pretty significant targets in that open pit area, and it is along a similar trend line to where you guys are. So you always look for a mine where there used to be one, or somebody else has a big find, right?
Well, absolutely, and this is what I'm calling it a caldera margin play. And within the Walker Lane, there's several deposits and mines that are on these caldera margins. Probably the most notable is Kinross's Round Mountain, which is something like a 28 million ounce mine, like just a monster. But also the new discovery down to the south of us, that's on the Rainier Mesa caldera margin. That's Silicon and Merlin. And then to the north of us, there's another caldera, the Goldfield caldera, and Centerra just bought into that one. They spent about $230 million and are exploring what's called the Gemfield deposit, and it's about 3.9 million ounces, if I remember correctly. So we're right in the middle. We're right in the hunt of it all. One of the really interesting things that I'm excited about with our target at Cuprite is it's never been drilled before. So when we get drilling in the coming weeks, it'll be the first holes into the target. And I don't know, AngloGold hit on their Silicon target on the second hole, and that was a 4.2 million ounce discovery. So wish us luck.
Oh yeah, no kidding. But why did this get overlooked? Just too many other bigger things around it, and it slid under everybody's radar.
Actually, that's a really interesting story. So back in the day, the U.S. was going to do a nuclear waste repository called Yucca Mountain. So they had the idea that they were going to store all the nuclear waste in the states underground in Nevada. And that was the plan. And so what the government decided was, okay, we needed a way to get this in there, and they were going to train the nuclear waste in. They put in a staking moratorium, and it went across Cuprite. It also went across Silicon. And so the history of this is like due to a quirk in U.S. history, those two properties were not available for mineral entry until about 2017. When the moratorium came off, a group went out, it's Renaissance, now Origin, went out and staked the Silicon project and flipped it to AngloGold, made the discovery. And then the follow-on company to Renaissance, or the rebranding of it, is a group called Origin. They saw the success, grabbed the next caldera margin up because the alteration is the same. The alteration, the mineralogy, the mercury anomalies, it's all the same at surface. But it also had that quirk of it that you couldn't go in there and stake. It's funny because when I've driven past this property, like as I say, I'm a Nevada guy. I've driven past it a dozen times and looked at it, and okay, what is that? Well, don't bother even looking over there because you can't. And so it was something that always went by. And then when the staking moratorium came off, Origin grabbed it, and then through the history of Origin and we've worked together on various things in the past. They were comfortable to do a deal with me, and we're starting to advance this project.
Yeah, well, you could look at it, but you just weren't allowed to touch it. It's,
Exactly.
it's sort of like the pretty, breakable things in the story. I'm allowed, when I was a kid, I was allowed to look, but not touch. So,
Well,
you
there's
know,
another little quirk of it. They have satellites these days that can map alteration, and it's reflected spectra, wavelengths, algorithms, and all that sort of stuff. And where they calibrated the satellites was Cuprite, because it was easy to get to. It's right beside the highway in Nevada. And so when they did the testing to figure out what sort of clay alteration you would expect back with a given spectra, they would actually send people out, and you can find evidence of this on the ground at Cuprite, where they looked and calibrated these satellites for making mining discoveries, but nobody could ever actually drill Cuprite because of that staking moratorium and just the quirk of the history of it. So there's a lot of independent evidence and quirky history, which is great, that points to there's something significant here, and it's never been given a test before. So we're really excited to get out there and give it a go.
definitely. Now, you said the drill program was coming up here almost imminently, as soon as the drills are done with their current project with another operator.
Yeah.
How big is the drill program? How many holes? How deep are you planning to go?
So we're envisioning a 5,000-meter program. And we're grossly speaking somewhere between 7 and 10 holes. So that gives what we're thinking is between 500 and 700 meters per hole. I think our deepest hole will probably be 700 meters. One of the things that the geophysics showed was there was a boiling horizon at a potential boiling horizon at depth. So we're going to reach down and give that a go, in addition to some silicification and resistivity, chargeability anomalies close to surface. So there's a lot of targets at depth within that one big target. But yeah, to answer your question, 7 to 10 holes, 500 to 700 meters.
That'll give us a pretty good idea if there is actually something there, which all the indications are. These are really interesting stories, and it brings me back to Great Bear in Ontario, where people would drive by it on the highway and not give a second thought to it. So
Yeah.
these are the types of stories that get me excited, and I like the fact that it's really early stages now. For investors who are interested in that kind of early stage opportunity, you have a private placement open.
That's correct. We're doing a financing right now. It's a unit financing. It's a 4-cent unit with a 7-cent half warrant that's good for 2 years. We have got a first tranche that we're going to be closing in the next couple of days, but people can still get in on it.
And I assume you have to be an accredited investor to participate.
100%. That is 100% right.
Perfect. So if people want to that are accredited investors or just simply want to know more about the company, how would they reach you and get in touch with you?
My email is ma@strikepointgold.com. Just how it sounds there. And then my cell phone is the best way to get in touch with me, and that is 604-374-8381. And I'm always available.
Yeah, definitely. For those that heard that, Mike does return your calls because I know that from experience, and also know that from other people that have dealt with them. So that's always key, to have management that is receptive to hearing from investors and potential investors. I look forward to hearing more about the drill results once the drills are done turning, and after we've discovered that, to see where that project is going to go in the future. And I'm excited about it.
Sounds good.
Thanks very much for joining me, Mike, and I look forward to having you back.
Sounds good, Mike. Take care out there.
The Prospector News podcast is for educational purposes only. The opinions expressed are those of the participants and are not to be taken as investment advice. Listeners need to do their own due diligence and seek advice of a licensed investment advisor.